Hey guys, it's me, President91, and I'm bringing you The Hobbit, The Battle of the Five Armies, the review. And basically, the review, I'm just going to say the plot, and the battle, the armies, the action. I'm going to talk about that too, but I'm just going to talk about the general content. But let's start with the plot. The plot to me was a little bit weak. I mean, the plot of the whole Hobbit was pretty nice, but if you combine the last, movie at least, I didn't really watch all of the first one, but if you combine at least the last movie, the plot was pretty decent, but the plot by itself in this movie, like the Elf King coming to just get the jewels, a little bit weak. I mean, the humans made sense. The humans had to come because their city was basically destroyed. I think they needed gold to bring in more stuff, I'm assuming, to rebuild the city, and it was pretty. The humans made more sense, but the elves, a little bit weak. But other than that, the plot, the whole two armies coming to get them, and our armies attacking both sides. And then I loved some of the how they kind of brought Sauron a little bit into the plot, but they didn't bring him too much in. Like they had him kind of talk for a couple seconds or minutes, but they didn't have him too much involved in the plot at all, which is good, or bad depending on how you look at it. I don't know. Anyway, let's go on. This content. Because let's face it, this movie wasn't so much about plot as it was about the battle itself, which is a lot of the movie. But the problem with me for the battle, well, actually, I'll talk about that later. But the battle I loved the battle scenes. I loved some of the scenes really good, and I loved how the dwarf armies came. I loved how the guy's cousin, Thoron's cousin, came, and he was all like, "If you could just give me your attention for a wee moment." I liked that, though I butchered the Scottish accent. But, like I said, I really did like how he showed up with the army. I liked how the dwarf army looked. I like how the elf and dwarf army combined, all the humans, everything. I loved all the different battle sequences, and they were pretty nice. Some were a little bit slow, I feel, but most of them were pretty nice. One of my favorite scenes of battle was when the deer or elk or whatever the king of the elves, what elves was riding, fell, and he's surrounded. They kind of had sad music there. I think it was kind of depressing music, and then I'm thinking, this guy's gonna die. There's no way he's gonna survive this. I mean, he's surrounded by orcs, and all of a sudden he brings out these two blades and starts cutting down all of them, and I'm like, wow, this guy's a beast. And it was pretty nice. I did love I like the battle scenes, Legolas, all of them, even though Legolas isn't in the Hobbit book. Still, Legolas edition of Legolas was actually pretty nice. Like to see dwarf and elf and human, fighting together. It was very nice. Battles were nice. They add some humor to that battle. It was some stuff to laugh at, some stuff to really enjoy. But all right, that's just my thing on the battle. The battle was, let's see, the base of the movie. Content, the movie had some love, but it didn't have as much love as the last movie. At least it didn't have so much flirting and stuff. It had Legolas, I think, still in love with the girl, even though he kind of knew she was in love with the dwarf. And the dwarf, dying. And spoiler alert, obviously, before I go on. Spoiler alert. All right, but it had the dwarf go on. The dwarf died, and it didn't really have it didn't have this big goodbye scene because he died. Then she had to kill, or Legolas helped her kill the dude, the person that killed him, and then so it didn't have. He already was dead by the time she came back to him, so they didn't have no goodbye scene. The biggest death goodbye scene was Thoron to Bilbo, which is pretty nice. Showed how their friendship. I do like, content-wise, I love how Thoron was a man can't have too many friends. It showed how he had kind of ended up trusting Bilbo more than he did his own companions, because he's these are my dwarf brothers, but he's you're my friend. He's I guess he kind of saw that these people are they follow me because I'm their king technically, even though they are kind of friends with him too. But it seems he talks to Bilbo, and he's you're my friend. So he really appreciated that, which is very nice. But the whole movie as a whole, I'm gonna get to the negative part, is that the battle, even though while good, felt a little bit shortened. I mean, it felt like they kept jumping from one to the next so quickly. You didn't get a chance to really enjoy this battle. Dwarfs are fighting these people, then all of a sudden the elves joined in before the battle began. Technically, the elves joined in. The elves and dwarfs are fighting in the field. Then all of a sudden, the other front comes to attack the city. So the people have to go back to the city to defend the city. And then the elves kind of join in with them to defend the city. So then the dwarfs are still fighting in the field. And then Thoron joins the dwarfs. And like it all just happened so quickly. I feel like I didn't have as much a chance to really enjoy the battle like I kind of did in Lord of the Rings: Return of the King, or like Two Towers of them. Like I didn't have a chance to just enjoy one battle. So it was like I was just watching all these different battles, going on. So yeah, but also about Thoron, his whole scene where he was like sinking into the gold, that was a bit dragged on. Like it was really like he was, for so long he's in there while his dwarven brothers are out there fighting the army, and I don't think that was in the book at all. Not sure. I didn't really read the book. Actually, I didn't read the book. Let me not even add the really, and I didn't read the book. My cousin told me about some of the book, and I watched the old cartoon, but I didn't read the book. But like I said, but that scene was just dragged on. I mean, so Thoron's whole I'm realizing he was mad and realized how stupid he had been, kind of just, I think it could have happened a bit sooner. Even though when he did join in, it was nice how they used the bell to destroy the wall, and then how they fought with the elves. But there are only 12 of them in there. I think there was so how could they? They didn't make. I don't think they make too much of a difference. But anyway, still, it's pretty good how they did the whole with the people and the elves and the dwarves. It was a very nice showing them fight together against a common enemy. But then having the elves kind of give up halfway through when he was like, he realized how much elf blood had been spilt. And I think he finally realized that the jewels weren't worth it. And he finally he's not fighting for the jewels, and he's not really fighting for anyone. Then when Talia, I think her name is, and Legolas had to be like, we're going to still fight. And then that's what made him stay. But still, for so many, did you not see how much bands of orcs and stuff were in when you first see the army? There are so much of them, legions upon legions, and yet when they attack the city, it seems like they can defend themselves pretty properly. I mean, they should have technically been. I mean, they should have technically been really overrun, especially the men. When the elves were helping, but still, I mean, the dwarves were fighting one army while the elves and them were fighting another part of the army. But the army was so huge, and it didn't seem that huge when they were attacking the city. At least not in the sense that, I mean, because the men could kind of handle them. Even the elves the elves have the biggest army, but still, I feel like they all kind of handled them too well for such a large army. Unless, I guess, goblins and those type of orcs. Like they said, orcs weren't as good as Uruk-hai are inside. Saruman's Uruk-hai are much better than orcs, I guess. So I guess like one man could probably take on like 10 orcs. I don't know. Or one soldier at least. So maybe that's why they were still defending themselves so easily, because they were still fighting orcs. They weren't fighting Uruk-hai yet. Uruk-hai are Saruman's invention. Speaking of Saruman, that is something I did love. The whole battle with Saruman and the 9 Dead Kings and Elrond and the 9 Dead Kings, it was greatness. And then when the Lady Elf, forgive me, I do not remember her name, when she cast out Sauron, that was greatness as well. And I love how they finally showed the power of the rings. They didn't, because in the Lord of the Rings movies, they didn't really show what the rings really could do. They just didn't. It just, other than the Ring of Power, like all the other rings were just born. It was like they were just pretty. Yes, look, I have a ring of power. I'm not, I'm going to use it. No. Other than, of course, that time when the Lady Elf, once again, can't remember her name, she was like tempted to take the ring from Frodo in the Fellowship of the Ring, and then she used like her power to make her voice change and all that stuff and blah. She was showing her magic. Same way she kind of did with Sauron. Same looking, same voice, I think. So, but at the same time, I that was pretty good. But with the whole Sauron thing, I'm glad they just kept it at a minimum. But that was I still love how they showed the power of the rings. Elrond, little cameo from Elrond and Saruman and her were pretty good in the movie. That fight was nice. The Dead Kings, how they showed them, very nice, very good for now. But one thing that was still negative, really, is just the whole. They had weak points, like when Gandalf and Bilbo are just sitting down, and Gandalf is trying to light his smoke, and Bilbo's just kind of like they're just smiling at each other. It's kind of like they had these times where people just weren't talking. I don't know, just seemed a little bit weak. But that's not really a big negative point. I guess they were kind of just trying to show like the battle's over and these people are just like sitting down. They're like just getting over it or getting through it. But let me just try to end this review now with saying that another thing that I really did like about the Hobbit movie was that at the end when Bilbo went back and because if you read the book, I read the first part of the Fellowship of the Ring, which is basically all I read, admittedly, but it talks about how Bilbo's cousins were kind of mad when he came back alive. because they thought the Shire was theirs. They basically were like, the Shire's ours. He's dead. He's been gone. And then he comes back, and they were kind of mad. And then I think they were even more mad in the book when he left it to Frodo, because Frodo is like, they're like, that's ours. You can't leave it to Frodo. You can't do this. So I think they were just. I really do like how they added that part in, and then how they went back to the beginning of Fellowship, which was nice. It was nice. It was showing how they connected. Very nice, very nice. But still, movie. It was a good movie. If I had to rate it, probably give it a 7.8 out of 10, because it did lack kind of like big plot, even though the plot honestly wasn't needed. But the action, like I said, was a little bit conjointed, if I can, disjointed maybe, disoriented, one of those words. It was a little bit like, we're fighting here, we're fighting here, we're fighting here. There was no like main focus, I feel like, but at the same time, pretty good movie. Anyway, that's my review. Guys, tell me your thoughts on this movie in the comments below. Thank you for watching, like, comment, and subscribe, and God bless.